Hi, I'm Dave Baszucki, founder and CEO at Roblox. You're listening to Tech Talks, a podcast about the people and ideas that are shaping the future of immersive connection and communication. In this series, we'll be exploring some of the most innovative technologies that have emerged in this new category and sharing stories with the Robloxians that are building them. Today, we have three special guests for our special four-person show. We're joined by Kiran Bhat. Welcome, Kiran.
Hello, Dave. Nice to be
Effie
back.
Goenawan. Welcome, Effie.
Hi, Dave.
And Mahesh Subramanian. Welcome.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, so it's so good. So we brought the all-star team here together today. And this is going to be a little different than our normal tech talks because we're going to be doing visioneering today. We're going to paint really something we talk about a lot at Roblox, which is the future of communication. That future of communication is composed of immersive 3D simulated communication, where we're represented by an avatar, where our avatar isn't just static. It can do things together. We can play hide and go seek. We can go to school. We can simulate that we're in the Roblox office. And ultimately, a Roblox avatar that feels really realistic and close and near and dear to what we're doing. So hang on for a technical product roller coaster ride as we touch on all of this. But before we dive in, first, maybe just like quick background. First, Mahesh and Kiran, how did we meet?
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic phase, where we had a meeting outside in a safe environment, where we got to hang out with you and talk about the vision of avatars in 3D. This was when Mahesh and I had our startup, Loom AI. And that meeting changed the course of our interactions with you and with the company.
Yeah, we were looking at digital avatars, expressiveness, personalization, but for an image-based or video-based communication setup. And we were always dreaming about shared 3D spaces when we met you. And boom, magic. We were like, wow.
It was somewhat magical. The magic I remember. Effie, how did we meet?
I have an interesting story.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, Manuel moved to Roblox, and I've worked with Manuel for several years at Google. And I was curious about, what is Roblox? And I started listening to Tech Talk podcasts.
This podcast.
This podcast. The
Okay.
first podcast I listened to.
That's kind of recursive, right?
You're right.
Like the thing that brought you here, you're doing right now.
Yeah, and as Mahesh and Kiran introduced themselves, it's basically the same podcast as what I listened to 2 years ago, and it was Kiran and you talking about avatars and AI and how the AI tech could help people express themselves. And to me, I felt like I spiritually met you through your vision. And I was sold, like, here I am.
Okay, well, there's probably going to be thousands of people that are spiritually meeting you after this goes live. And so we're probably going to have a lot more people being recruited, not just because of me, but because of this group today. So, okay, so we're going to take a step back and talk about the history of communication. We've shared this at RDC, the notion that people are always trying to figure out a way to be together at a distance if they can. And we've seen this with smoke signals. Mm-hmm. We've seen this with the mail system. We've seen this with the telegraph system. We've seen this with the phone system. In the midst of COVID, of course, we saw this in video. And at Roblox, I think we feel there's one more step here. And that is the step where we can recreate not just a video screen, but a 3D situation that can work on any device, phone, tablet, computer, VR, headset. And it's not just that we can be to communicate, but once we put people in 3D simulated environments, there's a lot more things we can do. We can have meetings like this where we look around and see who we're looking at, which is a lot more immersive than that video screen. Like we said, we can play hide and go seek, and we could get up and run away from here, which we can't do on a Zoom call. And then something really interesting we'll talk about is communication and serendipitous communication as we get that. So when we think about this, That seems like a lot. Some of us have seen Star Trek and the holodeck. Some of us imagine this working on a phone. Sometimes this will work in the holodeck. But there's various components of this. And those components include everyone has a great avatar. That avatar more and more can be simulated at high speed. We can move around and that we can communicate. And so we're going to kind of break this whole problem down and talk about all the pieces. And then hopefully when they come together, everyone's going to imagine, okay, if we have all those pieces, we're going to see it. And so we'll start with great avatars. And it's interesting, when we first met and we were looking at avatars, our avatars were very constrained almost in a certain look and feel.
Right.
That classic Roblox avatar. They did have some elements of the notion of personalization. And they had some elements that the community loves. We knew it from day one of communicating it. Then you worked on like movies, right? Like you worked on really great movies. So how did you think, you know, when we first met, that kind of extension from those initial avatars to the types of avatars we see in movies?
Yeah, avatars are the means of representing yourself in 3D, and so the limits are endless. And you know, starting from something that we had a few years ago, where the avatars are very simple, all the way to movie avatars, which are very expressive. The entire gamut is what is the exciting aspect of avatars on a platform like Roblox. And each one of those have elements in them that have to work well for them to be lovable and successful.
Yeah.
When you have really photorealistic avatars at the other end of the spectrum, you want to make sure that you don't fall into the uncanny valley. So the more fidelity you bring into the avatars, the expectations of the users are also high. So there is like a fine balance where avatars are both very fun and engaging, but also what users connect with themselves. And so the styles may be very simplistic to begin with, but they can still be very engaging. So basically, the spectrum is very important, and different people connect with different styles of avatars. So when we spoke, that was one really important element that we understood right away, that there's a large audience of users, both from Roblox and people who had used Lumi Live and other things that we had built, which people identified with. And then there are all these characters which are on the big screen that people identified with. And the important thing of all of those is that there is an element of a human behind these avatars.
That's right.
So with the movie avatars, the successful ones are built with elements of the actor, both in how they are built to look like in their appearance and how they move.
I don't know if when we first met, we were already talking the notion that we have to do this very difficult thing where we have this very classic Roblox avatar, everyone loves it, and at the same time, in a sense, that has to be subsumed in a style-free technology where any avatar style that anyone wants to build has to be successful. I forget, were we talking about that early on?
Yes, we actually got onto a video call when we were talking. And to prove it to ourselves, we came into the call as a Roblox-looking avatar.
Right.
And so we could show that using the same schema or parameterization behind the scenes on something which looks maybe more realistic or a more legacy stylized character, they both can animate and express the same way. And I think that made you also realize that, wow, the same technologies that we build can be applied across all these styles, and that makes it more universal.
Right, so we had this idea, even when we met, that we're going to migrate our avatar system to one that supports any style.
That's right.
And we also had the notion that to do this, just like the experiences on Roblox, we needed a UGC avatar system. We are right in the middle of that right now, right? I think it's only been a month since we started to allow people to build UGC type avatars. But I guess I'm kind of optimistic. Like, how's that going? Like,
yeah, that is going really well. I think that also brings this unique challenge in Roblox that the styles are all over the spectrum, but then they all have to be interoperable and share a schema that allows you to transition between different experiences with your avatar. And if you are a UGC creator, what we expect from you is build an asset that you like, and then we do the rest. We
That's
make
right.
the schema that works within the Roblox universe. And that is where a lot of the new innovations in AI have been helping to take something that looks like a mesh with a face and a body and then automatically convert them into a fully animatable, living, schema-compliant Roblox avatar.
Okay, so now we'll do a little round the horn on everyone's Roblox avatar today. Where is everyone with your avatar? Are you UGC? Are you custom? Like, what's your avatar look like?
So I have both a UGC avatar, actually a custom avatar,
Yeah.
a blocky style avatar, and a little more Pixar-ish cartoony avatar, which was, built with the technology internally. It's not out there yet, so it's still work in progress. But the avatars have two styles.
Okay, and how about you, Effie?
I love my avatar.
What does your avatar look
my
like?
avatar looks like me. I feel like it represents myself. It's really creative. It's wearing this really cute cat shoes that I bought in the marketplace, and then
Yum.
I'm wearing this like all white clothing from top to bottom. I feel like it's amazing. Like I can be anyone I want and change
So one
my
of the
shoes.
key parts of that is those cat shoes. No matter whose avatar we have, making them work on your avatar. And so that's when you say schema, I think what we mean is any piece of clothing, any accessory works on any avatar. One of the things we're talking about, and I think we'll go off topic a little, is I think I'm hopeful that ultimately when we go shop for our avatars and for clothing, it's more and more like we're going to Stanford Shopping Center or something, and literally, if we have a favorite brand, we can go into the store for that brand and find what we want. So were you able to find all of the stuff you wanted, or was there any area where you couldn't find what you really wanted for your avatar?
So far, I love fashion. I actually love shoes, dresses, and different colors. So far, it's been fun exploring things on Roblox, but yeah, I'm hoping we'll see more and more. For instance, like I'm from Indonesia, things that Indonesian people create or something that is more unique to where I am.
Yeah, I
A lot
think
more
that, and
people
that paints the
creating.
vision, right? If
Right.
you have a favorite designer or store where you would actually want to shop there, I think we'll know we really made it when you can go shop for your avatar there.
Yeah, exactly. But I love how in real life, for me to show up at work with my cat shoes, that would be pretty awkward. But on Roblox, I can literally hang out with Kiran and you with my awesome cat shoes.
Okay, but haven't we said at our all hands meetings that Roblox is a 24/7 costume company?
All right, so tomorrow I'll
you
wear
could-
my cat shoes.
You
Do not
could do
judge.
that, actually. Okay, and
And one more thing I'd just add to that is that recently I had to purchase a suit for myself, and I went and got it custom fitted. So that's an important aspect. It's not just that we can go find clothing brands and styles that we like, but we can actually customize it to fit our avatar. So you might buy a oversized jacket, but if you want it to be tighter fitting, yeah, you can do it. So we're building all these tools to not just lay all these layers on top of each other, but also fit and play well together.
Right.
And just in an avatar, again, talking about my avatar, similar to Kiran, I think I have a playful avatar and I have a work avatar, where in the work avatar, I'm looking for some likeness.
Yeah.
Something where without too much prompting, people know that that's Mahesh. But in the playful avatar, I want people to just know that I like shoes. So, hey, they can just spot me by saying, once they know that I've got that funky shoe, then everybody knows every time that that's me. So,
And I think that likeness is a good hint for where we're going to go later on that show. So right now we've all got avatars. We have ways of creating them. The styles are expanding. Clothing works on every avatar. We can build that avatar. But if we just have those avatars, they're static. And one of the things we did with your company, and we're going to do more and more, is rather than putting on a mocap suit, or rather than doing that, using whatever we can, the camera, lip syncing, to bring that avatar to life, more than just what I would do with ASDW or more what I would do with virtual thumb pads or a game controller. Can you talk a little, Mahesh, about what bringing your avatar to life means?
Yeah, I think this is really critical. The ease of expression and the immediacy of expression is really important. You don't want to be searching for the button to say, hey, I'm happy with what happened.
Right.
You just want to show it. And we just instinctively react when the four of us are sitting here. And so we want that. And the way we are looking at that is, can we capture signals from the user more naturally? Can this camera, whatever it's pointing at and however far it goes, can it capture my mannerisms, my emotions, and translate it to my avatar?
That's right. And so, couple highlights: PII compliant, very thoughtful about at what age we would transmit what information, but even at younger ages, there's some information we can use. And so phase one is face.
Yep.
And it actually seems amazing. We are live now with full facial animation, which is absolutely amazing. We've been talking about that for a while. How does that work?
Yeah, so we are, again, behind the scenes, we are tracking from the camera, we are tracking the person's, what we call FACS or facial action coding system, and we are only transmitting these animation curves.
Yep.
So there's no data of the user being transmitted. We are able to take these 50 movements of your face, move it to the cloud, and then we are able to translate it to any avatar you have.
So right now AI is super hot, and everyone's talking about visionary generative AI and synthetic AI. But this is a piece of AI that I like because it's actually been worked on for several years. It's got a lot of hot buzzwords, right? Client side, hyper efficient, client side inference, training, all of that. And it's live in production for millions of people.
Exciting. This is really exciting, and we are looking forward to starting to step back even further. So you've seen the face,
Yeah.
and the next is to get some upper body movement, because you can get body language from your shoulders, the relative positioning of my face, and some of those subtleties. Moving on all the way to maybe I want to stand back and do a dance.
So upper body is interesting, right? Because we just shipped on MetaQuest, yay, so awesome. You can use hand controllers on MetaQuest, and so some of the things you might try to do in the real world, reach, grasp, grab things, it's a lot harder to simulate those hand controllers like right now on an iPad or a PC. So in addition to, I think, one thing that the community might be interested in addition to picking up the body language of that upper body, maybe hint at, whoa, you might actually be able to use that to reach in and pick something up in a virtual world or something, which is really exciting.
Absolutely. I think we can take the 3D space concept and us being in the same experience together to the next level. This will go beyond what you can do in video. Because if I can reach out and say hi-fi to you, or we both
High
can,
five.
oh,
Very good.
excellent. We can do it in real life, but soon in Roblox. And if you're able to pass things on, you can imagine the communication. You've seen how, rather than getting on a phone call, if you went for a meeting where you walked together, or you had
That's
a
right.
coffee together, how much more enriching and more engaging it is. So doing things together while communicating
That's right.
can only happen in a platform like ours.
And now that leads to one final thing. On the Roblox Developer Conference, we made 10 predictions for the next 5 years. One of them was that someone would perform live to 1 million people on Roblox. And I think the traditional way that musicians perform live is they put on a mocap suit and they go to a studio for a few days. But that's not what we were talking about, was it?
Yeah, this is again very natural. It's basically again the ease of tracking and transferring to these
So what that
characters.
would look like in real life is literally put a phone up on a tripod and hang out in front of it and do your performance.
And this, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, because the camera sees what it can, and there are sections it can see, and we want to gracefully extend what it can see, and in some cases it might, it has to be pretty robust to lighting and camera shake and
That's right.
Yeah.
And this creates a really interesting opportunity because in traditional immersive video gaming experiences and other experiences, we're always trying to figure out how to manipulate the character. We're trying to figure out with our gamepad or whatever how to do that. As we start to have both of those inputs, and I start to have a mouse and ASDW and an avatar, where we blend movement from ASDW, where we blend movement from your avatar, is going to be very interesting. I'm actually very optimistic, and I think one of the design goals would be not just full body, but movement as well. Could we infer movement? Could you put your phone and gesture where you're going to move? So there's the AI tech is going to really drive that. Okay, so we've talked about having a great avatar. We've talked about controlling the movement of it so it looks real. But now we have to start communicating. And we did something very interesting in the last year or two as we started to introduce voice on Roblox. How's that been going, Effie?
Yeah, it's super exciting. It's actually a different kind of voice product than the typical products that people use today. It's spatial voice.
Yeah.
It's really exciting because it's like 3D. You know, when I want to talk to you, I kind of approach you, and then when I call you from far away, I increase my voice so you can hear me, and then I can whisper in the background if I just want to say something really quick. And it's really cool because there is no awkwardness with like Zoom breakout or like 2D breakout rooms. You're not just talking to a tile on the screen, but it's actually making you feel like you are in the same room, even when you're far apart. And to me, you know, personally, it means a lot because I talk to my family and friends so far away other side of the world, and it's tough doing it over the phone line because it feels very flat, and it doesn't feel like we are in the same space. But with spatial voice, you will feel like you're in the same space together. Even like going to concerts, you can whisper in the background in a concert, or you can yell together, sing together. Yeah, so yeah, that's spatial voice.
Well, you're highlighting something really interesting that I feel we take for granted in the real world, and that is the physics of the way audio works and n squared fall off and the way sound works. It allows us to go to a concert with 100,000 people, get close and hear what my friend is saying, hear the roar of the crowd, and then hear the big speakers up front. And that is impossible to do on a video screen with a lot of squares. It also, as you mentioned with your family, I think creates serendipity. So then something gets really complicated here, and this is a bit of a visionary thing. In physical reality, we can all be chatting in 3D, and then my phone can ring, and I can still talk to my friends at the same time. Is there a metaphor for that in immersive experiences?
Absolutely. In fact, that's what makes our spatial voice so special, because you're not bounded by physical limitation, real world limitation. Like you can be in a concert, the concert example. You and I can be hanging out at the concert, and then Mahesh can call me from other side of the world, and then I can go to the back and talk to Mahesh, and even tell Mahesh, hey Mahesh, did you hear what the artist is singing? So truly, you can move from one space to another without having to be constrained with physical bounds.
Yeah, and I think you're hinting at maybe a very elegant future for immersive 3D environments, which is the support of both 3D spatial communication as well as the communication we might do on a phone or something like that.
And in fact, we also have the APIs that the audio team just released that can do exactly what you just mentioned, which is use the APIs for, have a walkie-talkie simulation in a spatial world. And so you can be at a concert, have a walkie-talkie, talking to your friends, and all of what you think is needed for spatial togetherness while having the ability to communicate with someone who is not spatially there.
We've actually been very deliberate and gentle in our rollout of voice, and we've actually been very careful. We started with ID validated users. We've backed into certain levels of validation. I think our audience knows why, but can you share?
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the foundations of future of communication, how we think about communication on Roblox is the first two you've covered, which is the first one being like real world with spatial voice. Second one was without being limited by physical boundaries. The third one is something that is so unique. And to me, this is why I feel like I'm so proud of being part of Roblox, because we're keeping our promise for safety and civility. And that's so unique to us because we don't just get things out there ASAP. Instead, we take the deliberate approach. We want to make sure our community is safe. And that results in two things. First one is we're taking a couple years till today to roll it out broadly to US phone verified users as well as users in majority English countries. We have millions of people using spatial voice every day. And then on the second one is we're using AI tech to scale. And this is so much fun for me to work on. It brings my passion on AI as well as actually helping people connect in a civil manners. And the latest launch we had was real-time voice toxicity detection. It's a really hard problem. I don't think anybody else has solved it other than us. And we use it in such an elegant way that we're detecting things in real time, and then we remind people to be civil. So the thesis behind it is we don't want to just punish people, moderate people, but actually when we start detecting probable abuse, we want to start educating people so that they have a chance to reform.
So this is a really big unpack, and it's really interesting. There's a cost thing here going on, and Roblox has a fairly large infrastructure, hundreds of thousands of servers around the world that are supporting 3D simulation. The challenge I feel from the safety team is, can we run inference on that same grid and run it at high performance? And it sounds like we have. We're doing it very cost effectively. The other thing is a user interface paradigm of how this would work. And I'm wondering if I can share the anecdote I had recently. So we built our Roblox office simulation, and so I do all of my one-on-ones in Monday in Roblox office. So I have various meetings with my avatar using voice. We're in a special conference room. We hang out and do things. And I was having a one-on-one meeting with one of the executives in the company. We were getting very excited about something, like really excited. So I did the WTF and like high five, and all of a sudden got this nice little, hey, heads up, and the reason was at that point, our Roblox office is running in a public square level of moderation. It's running at the civility standard of a place on Roblox, and like, I could tell, oh my gosh, this wasn't acceptable. Can you comment on that? And will we someday be able to swear in Roblox office when we turn it into more private mode? Like, I think we will.
Yeah, so for safety and civility, it's always context aware depending on where you are, whether you're in one-to-one, private, public space, as well as the age rating of the experience. So when you are in 17 plus, you can say more things than when you are in all ages space. And when you are in private mode, we respect your privacy. With consent and verification. So that's definitely part of our principles in building the product.
Okay, cool. So I think you're highlighting one of the complexities of building a platform that people of all ages use is spreading that kind of personalized, appropriate level of civility at all places. But it was an amazing show off of our technology. It was one of the more unexpected things. And then we've mentioned that there's organic behavior that's starting to come out of voice, things that we didn't initially expect. And so when we started layering, like a lot of technologies for 3D immersive, the hope is you build it as a utility at high performance, and then you see unexpected things like people using it for education or people using it for concerts. Can you share what we've seen on voice in that area?
So my favorite example is the NCT 127 K-pop meet and greet. It's so much fun. I watched several videos. There are so many videos online, and it's about this famous Korean band getting on Roblox, and then people all around the world they get to meet them. You don't have to be where they are. And then they started saying, hey, repeat after me. And everybody was repeating after them. And it was just like, I felt I was there. It was insane. Yeah, that was my favorite example.
So that feeling of being there, I think our thesis would be in certain situations in immersive 3D with that level of communication, starting to get that feeling. And when people have that feeling, we'll start seeing people communicate in more and more diverse ways in this tech.
Yeah, exactly.
Super cool. Okay, and then, so we touched a little on AI on the safety side. We touched a little on AI on the movement side. So secretly on the movement side, we're running high-perf inference. Every client, right now, you know, in the midst of so much excitement around AI, there's a whole excitement around generative AI. Mm-hmm. And we all know someday, whether it's for fashion, I think for fashion, we used to think what would be really cool is simulating Project Runway with a digital sewing machine and digital cloth and mannequins. I think we're starting to think even well beyond that now, that some fashion designers will design purely by verbal prompt. And they'll say, I'd like a sweater, I'd like it dark blue, I'd like the collar to be a tab collar, and kind of build in that way. On Avatar, we hinted earlier on the notion that people are going to want both a infinite number of avatar styles. I might want to be, you know, pick your favorite style that's out there from a movie, from a video game, or more realistic, but they might want to look more like themselves as well. And so that's something we're working on that's really exciting. It almost goes to some of the early research you were doing. Can you share a bit about that, Kiran?
Yeah, that's a topic that is in very active R&D within the company. And you brought up two really interesting points. One is the number of styles that we want our users to experience. That should be limitless.
Yeah.
And then the identity, bringing elements of yourself into the style, but doing it safely.
Yep.
So there's the safety aspect of generative AI, which is a foundational piece of the version that we are building, which is the 3D generative AI, which is safe. Yep. And then the flexibility of styles. And so there's a proliferation of Gen AI in the 2D space with Stable Diffusion being a primary source of inspiration. And then there's been techniques like ControlNet, which is co-invented by somebody at Roblox, which allows people to create a lot of content in 2D.
Yep.
But that has not yet translated into 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And the research community has done a number of interesting approaches for 3D generative AI, nerves and other examples come to mind. But none of those techniques are ready for use in an actual game engine,
yep,
let alone being useful for avatars. So we are at some level at a cutting edge of 3D generative AI for avatars, because avatars bring another level of complexity. It's you, so you have to identify it as a user. It has to move correctly, so it's not a static thing, and it has to be rendered. It has to relight correctly if you take the avatar from one experience to other. So everything that makes 2D Stable Diffusion type outputs look really beautiful because it has lighting baked in and what have you, won't work in 3D. So
well, I think this is really actually nice to hear, because there's so many entrepreneurs out there trying to solve the generative 3D problem. And I know, hearing from you that this is a very difficult problem, maybe actually is helpful to them. It's not just text and then image. The jump to 3D is rather significant.
Phenomenally hard.
And the reminder there is that when we think of an avatar, don't think of it as the skin on the surface. The avatar has all of this muscle, joints inside. That's what brings it to life. And that's the really hard problem. So when we talk about generative AI here for 3D, we are building a skin or the outer mesh and texture, but we are also building the entire rig or
That's
musculature
right.
inside.
Technically, inside our avatars, there are joints, there are bones, there are things controlling the face muscles, all of that. And so getting to 3D is not the final step.
That's right. And we are approaching it in two steps, right? One is, building the avatars and then the accessories. So those are sort of combined together. But even to get there, we are rolling out technologies to our UGC first, where the UGC creators can input meshes. So they give us meshes, and then we do the rest. We build the musculature and the rigs and everything. So that is one way of getting more 3D data.
I think that's an elegant decomposition of the problem, arguably, and definitely artists today can make amazing avatars. As you mentioned, those avatars do not have all of the physical characteristics that can swap them into a real-time environment.
That's right.
So I think what I've heard here is there's one very difficult problem, which is 2D to 3D. There's a second very difficult problem, which is 3D to physically simulated 3D with FACS controls that we can do. And we have to do both of those.
Exactly. And I think both of those can happen in parallel.
That's right.
And our strategy has been to open up this second piece, which is going from a mesh to an animatable avatar, which is by itself one of the hardest things to do as an artist. We are automating that.
And I'm extremely excited about that because it does mean for the traditional crafting mode, those avatars will automatically be ingested into Roblox and be able.
And just imagine the fact that we are able to automate that means they're all interoperable as well.
That's right.
Because now you might build a very stylized creature and you might go build a realistic head, but both of them can be driven by the same technologies we have.
That's correct.
So that's pretty powerful.
And one other aspect of all of these sort of auto rigging, as we call it, is or auto setup of avatars. It comes with all the pieces of the schema that allows you to apply any accessories on these avatars. So you build a shell,
right.
and then all of a sudden it is alive and is ready for any kind of accessorization within the platform. So that's the combinatorial explosion of content that we can enable by having all these different pieces be independent, but a UGC can bring a piece of content in, and it works across all the combinations. Right. And the second step, of course, is can you also automate the process of creating these shells from prompts or photographs?
Well, the prompt thing is really interesting because prompts are right now the ChatGPT line and what people think of that. I think when we think of prompts, ultimately it's going to be somewhat unlimited, right? It's going to be text, it's going to be a selfie of yourself. It could even be a snapshot of something you like or a hand sketch, all of that. So it's exciting to imagine kind of any set of or collection of prompts to help build your avatar.
That's right. And I think the collection of prompts are the input to a system that can translate the prompts into a style, which in turn can be projected,
right.
lifted into 3D, as we call it. And so there are two logical steps here, going from prompts to something that is an internal representation of a style, and then from the style to a 3D output, and then from the 3D output to an avatar.
Which is a three-way decomposition.
Three-way decomposition.
Okay, so now as we start to wrap this up, and so we've done kind of a whirlwind tour here. For a closing thought, which I was thinking about, imagining it's X number of years in the future, we have just so much computing power that 3D immersive simulation is a solved problem, almost like you might say word processing is a solved problem today. Like, most word processors have enough compute power and they work the way. And then we were all picking our avatars. I think it brings up an interesting question of, would we want to have a photorealistic, exactly the same avatar? Would we go to one of our favorite designers and have a designer avatar? Would we use one of our favorite movie characters? Would we create our own? what is everyone thinking about? Like, I'm kind of imagining I would have something photorealistic, but like a little cool movie adjustment to it or something. So I'd look really cool or something like a movie star. And it's almost like when you take that best selfie, you know how you have 100 or 200 selfies, one of them is just like, oh yeah, like that's the one I like. So I'm kind of thinking like I would have that. Are you thinking photorealistic? Or are you thinking cartoony? Or where do you think you would go?
The best part is we don't have to decide for our users. We give them all the choices.
Yeah.
And we give them an easy way to intuitively create what they're thinking of. Because it's not enough just to have the power to create it. It has to be easy and intuitive on how you build it. And I can see a world where you have multiple personas depending on the situation. You go into a work setting, you have something which matches your likeness, a little bit more formally dressed maybe, and then you go with your friends, and it's it's party attire, and you're maybe a creature. So I think we will enable all.
Okay, so you'll have several likenesses. Cool.
Yes.
Effie, how about you?
The creation piece excites me the most because that's where I feel like everybody can create and people can collaborate. So that's going to be awesome because a lot of people, only some people can create and distribute their creations to a lot of people. But guess what? Imagine if everybody in the world, they can be connected and build things together. If I can collaborate with my niece somewhere in Indonesia and then we can build shoes together and you can buy our shoes and then it's beyond what's possible physically. I think personally I would still look like me, but I think I will be a lot more creative in terms of what I wear.
Got it. So the co-creation of who you are, actually, it would be done with others as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, Kiran?
Yeah, I think two answers. One is for a professional type setting. I think it is still a great challenge to hit the photoreal avatar bar. I think we should, as a technology initiative, we will continue working on reaching that bar without hitting the uncanny valley problem, especially if you have to have this running on all kinds of devices, mid-range, low-end devices. So getting that technical capability to build something that truly looks like you, moves like you, behaves like you, that your grandmother can connect with. And I mean, so that is one axis I think is an important direction for us to continue working on 10 years down as well. And the other axis I think is, what my kids would love me to be if I have to hang out with them, and that might be a very playful version, as you said. So both the axes are important. I think the thing with these generative models is that it gives us a window into building avatars that we can iteratively refine and be with different signals, prompts, and having the context of what you've liked before to help build new content for you is another very powerful aspect of this journey.
Super exciting, and you just triggered a fun idea for me of what is the dad optimized avatar. Like now I got to think about that one a lot. Great. Well, thank you so much for all of you for together painting this picture really of the next step in digital communication. It's been wonderful to have you all on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, okay. So, hey, this is Dave Baszucki. This is Tech Talks. We get together often to discuss the future of technology at Roblox. Join us next time. Thank you.